I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% that bitchuation room. What's going on, Frantifa? How are you? It is a Thursday. Doesn't matter what day of the month it is. I forget. You might be listening into the future. What is going on? So good to see you. So good to have you here. We have an amazing show. I think I'm going to rename this show today Between Two Zaddies, because that's what it is. I've got a comedy zaddy. I've got a politics zaddy. I'm super excited. Sam Seder and Bassem Youssef are here, you guys. Get fucking pumped. All right? Just, take a shot or something of green juice or whatever you do. Do some push-ups right now. We're going to get into some stuff. We're talking about Trump going full Nazi. We're talking about Exxon Mobil and lobbying behind the scenes. We're talking about the Supreme Court's extremist agenda finally coming to fruition, bearing that disgusting fruit. It's a mealy watermelon. It's a that like mealy watermelon that someone brings. You're like, I like watermelon. I gotta eat this whole fucking. That's what it is. And then we are bringing back Sext Elect Overthrow. I don't know if it's a fan favorite, but it's my favorite. It's something we used to do back in the day / a year ago when we started streaming live. Sext Elect Overthrow with all your favorite Democrats. Get pumped for that. And so good to have you here. If you haven't already, like the stream, share the stream. Sharing is caring. As well as leaving a review. Leave a review, 5 stars on iTunes if you're listening in the future. Also, do we make it? Do we make it? Let me know in that review. And don't hate on the fart song, guys. Don't hate on it. I was in San Diego doing shows, and I had live Frantifa fans come out who said they demanded that the fart song be back. So the fart song will be back on Sunday. We're doing another show Sunday. This is a 3-show week. Holy shit. A 3-show week. So on Sunday, doing the fart song, shouting out all the new patrons. Thank you so much, you guys, for becoming a patron and for tipping the show TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App. And hey, you can become a patron too. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room for all the good bonus episodes, for the merch that I am slowly harvesting from just the most local, artisanal, all made of hemp and workers who only work 2 hours a day and then they read like Frantz Fanon for the rest of the day. I'm just making sure it's sourced right. So make sure, become a patron. Holy shit, become a patron. And follow us on Twitter at the Bitchuation. What is there? Bitchuation Pod? Bitchuation. Oh God. Do I host this show? No, don't follow me. Thank you, go. Don't follow the show on Twitter. Do that. But right now, you guys, it is time for the segment that we always start this show off with, which is, what are you bitching about now? Okay, so I am going to forego what I am bitching about because I'm actually really happy. I'm super, super excited that I have my 2 guests to come on and to bitch for me. Because I'm just happy. I don't have anything to complain about now that I've got both of these guests on. So without further ado, He is the host of Air America Radio's The Majority Report. Still Air America? A live progressive news show which streams daily on YouTube and the Majority Report app and on the Peacock app, I believe, and is available as a podcast on all listening platforms. He's performed in or written for such shows as Marin, 2.5 Men, Friends, as a recurring character on Bob's Burgers. He's also been in Sex and the City. I wonder if he's coming back for the reboot. His weekly podcast, Ring of Fire, which he hosts with Emma Vigeland, can be found on fans.fm. This might be an old bio. Please welcome Sam Seder.
Thank you, Francesca. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Oh.
Should I go right into what I'm bitching about?
No, I just wanted to say what a fucking nightmare that you're here. I didn't actually expect you to show up. I'm going to cut to my cat now. I'm just going to cut to the cat video.
I understand. Believe me, I get this reception very often these days. It's happening quite a bit.
I can't look at you directly in the eye. I can't look at the camera. So
I don't. I understand. That's why I have my sort of semi-tinted glasses, and that's part of the reason why I do that. Is because
I'm gonna look over here and tell you to take off your glasses.
Full force of my velveteen rabbit eyes, or whatever it is, I have no idea.
So obviously, we're talking about Steven Crowder and Sam's epic debate. That I don't know if you can call it a debate when someone just leaves the ring and claims victory.
Really, I mean, it was basically my means in which to send him to the hospital. You'll notice that he's been in the hospital. He's had, I think, heart surgery and has been recovering this week. And that is, when I don't wear these polarized, changing glasses, and I look directly into someone's eyes, even if it's via Zoom or StreamYard, I tend to end up giving them heart palpitations. So, yeah.
Like, I wish him well, but I also definitely wish him permanent heart palpitations after not debating you.
Hopefully the surgery will have corrected it for him. So we'll see.
He's got to live on. He can't go.
No, I don't think he's going to pass away. I think he's going to be fine. But that was the situation. I went on and I didn't wear those glasses, and so there he is. But
you gave him AFib. Sam, tell us what you're bitching about today.
Well, I mean, I'm bitching about a lot of things, but the first is I'm still mad that Air America went out of business over 11 years ago.
Put it in your bio?
I'm so mad about it that I continue to put it in my bio. And also, I'm mad that I never wrote for Friends or that other show that you said. I never wrote for those shows.
Really? No, you should just lie.
There's a weird fan fiction. Every now and then I see a search and someone's written this extensive story about my life that none of it is true. It's very strange, but
that's like when I look at my bios and it's like, she was born in Buenos Aires. So it's like, nope. And she is 48. And I'm like, God, fuck. Yeah, no. But
well, look, be careful with that, because I'm a little bit older than 48. I can tell you that right now. So, but yes, it's very strange, but I'm really bitching about, and it would have been the Supreme Court, but I know we're going to talk about that more in depth.
Yes.
So I'll just make it about Breyer. Stephen Breyer has, it was announced this week that he had hired 4 clerks, and we are now, further away from the end of the term. They've announced their final rulings, and there's every reason to believe that this guy is not going to retire, and it is an abomination. It is one of the greatest acts of narcissism that I think in the modern era. I mean, Joe Lieberman was up there during the ACA battles, but the idea that Breyer wouldn't resign now is because he doesn't think the judiciary should be politicized and should be tied into is just absurd. It is it's just the most distressing thing I can imagine. Even as much as I hold Ginsburg responsible for for her not resigning, she at least thought that she could resign during the Clinton administration, which never happened, of course. And that I thought was an abomination as well.
Yeah.
Breyer is almost even worse at this point. I mean, this is going to impact, my kids for, their entire adult lives.
Yeah, like actually dying is a political act. You will politicize the Supreme Court when you kick the bucket. So 4 clerks, that's like too many. But like he's got like they're just we're weekend at Bernieing him.
The idea is that he wouldn't hire these clerks if he was if he was going to retire. So it doesn't sound like he's going to.
I see. I got it. I thought, okay, right. So they've got a job, i.e., he's not going to retire. That's something good to bitchuate about. We're going to talk more about the Supreme Court in a little bit, but I want to bring in our other guest. Oh my God, I can't believe I have these 2 gentlemen at the same time. Maybe he also has written for Friends or 2.5 Men, I hope. He's a comedian and who was the creator and host of the popular TV show Al Barnameg, I pronounced that wrong, a political satire show, which was the first of its kind in the Middle East, became the most watched show in the history of Egyptian television with 40 million viewers every week and over 2 million YouTube subscribers. He's, of course, appeared on The Daily Show 4 times, been dubbed the Jon Stewart of the Middle East. When he's not touring, he can be found hosting his podcast, Remade in America, and shows all over this country. Please welcome Bassem Youssef.
Hi guys, thank you for having me. First of all, I would, since English is my second language, I had to Google the word zaddy, which is turned out to be a sexually attractive man, especially an older one who is fashionable or charismatic. I don't know if I should be happy or offended, but thank you so much for that. Another thing is welcome. A zaddy is a man with swag who is attractive and also fashionable and old. It just keeps coming up old.
Hell
so
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Old,
I appreciate
mostly old. No, look,
that.
We do Me Too reparations on this show, and this is part of that. So if you feel objectified, just know that that is feminist.
I think this is ageist. You being an ageist, yeah.
Bassem, so good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. I know you have to get out to your trainer has got all kinds of HIIT workouts prepared for you, so you gotta leave pretty soon. But tell me,
to keep that zaddy vibe, I have.
You gotta keep that zaddy body going.
Yeah.
But tell me, what are you bitching about, Bassem?
I'm bitching about people still bitching about vaccination.
Okay.
No, seriously. I mean, why are you still bitching about being vaccinated? Why don't you just go and vaccinate? I mean, those are the people who are holding everybody back. I mean, we vaccinate our children, or else they're not going to get into public schools. And those people are still bitching about like, oh, the vaccine has a microchip or it's going to kill you. And like, if you look at the numbers, despite the Delta variant, and the virus didn't go anywhere, and yet only 50% of the people are vaccinated, and still we have a decline in numbers of coronavirus cases. So it works, and still people are bitching about it and don't want to be vaccinated. And I'm not like a guy who's a big fan of authoritarian decisions, but I think really we should have this kind of vaccine passport. You're not going to travel unless you have a vaccination card or a vaccination passport, because I can't travel anywhere because I have to get like a PCR test every 3 days if I want to go to multiple countries. I know it's like a first world country that I want to travel, but enough already. Go get vaccinated. The kind of conspiracy theories that we've been through this whole year about, oh, there's going to be a chip. People would rather believe a guy like David Icke, who is a conspiracy theorist in England, who actually perpetuates the theory that we are being ruled by a race of alien lizards, than going to get a vaccination. This is ridiculous.
The lizard thing, I mean, does have some credence.
No.
The changeling. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Mount Shasta, but I mean,
no. But what? By the way, the whole thing about like being so racist against lizards. By the way, lizards have been like, look at lizards. I mean, one of those lizards have been talking to us every single day, trying to convince us that 15 minutes can save 15% on car insurance every single day. What's wrong with lizards? We have like a live lizard. There's nothing wrong with lizards. I mean, the whole thing about like lizard phobia is just absurd.
No, I'm not convinced that lizards wouldn't do a better job at running our government than
I'm already saving tons of money on car insurance because of them. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be so sure that lizards aren't already running our government. Let's put it that way. So,
I mean, look at Mitch McConnell.
oh, we did lose Donald Rumsfeld this week. I don't know why that came to mind. But go ahead.
Lizard, King Lizard.
Yes.
Yeah, look, you have to get vaccinated to travel anyway outside of COVID. So the idea that people are still on about it is like, nah. But then again, I also believe people don't travel. I think every American should have, obviously, 4-day work week, but also one trip every 5 years abroad. That's it. Expand your horizons. Go to the socialist country you're actually afraid of. It's actually kind of nice. They've got great pina coladas. Cuba's lovely. There's healthcare. If something happens to you, you get treated. You don't have to pay anything. That's what I think generally. But that's good to bitch about. I've been doing indoor comedy. I'm sure you have too, Bassem. And you're like, you don't really want to ask the crowd if they're vaccinated because you don't really want the honest answer.
No, but you see, they don't get vaccinated. But then when you ask them, anybody here not vaccinated, they will not say I'm not vaccinated because they're scared. So they will just like spread their viruses and conspiracy theories otherwise.
Does that seem weird to you? Okay, last thing on this. Does it seem weird to you? Because yes, we've gotten incredible unfettered access to the vaccine as Americans, whereas the rest of the world still struggling. And I've got my vaccine, card ready to go, like in my wallet, like, oh man, you want to, I'm just like waiting for somebody. And instead they're like, no, I need your ID. So you, to see if you're 21 to get into this bar. You can only spread COVID in here if you're over 21. And I think that's so weird because it is so uniquely American of being allergic to any kind of what appears to be government oversight. That like we have this access, but yet we can't even fucking like flex it because nobody is allowed to, and nobody is, even private businesses aren't checking.
No, this is the most hypocritical thing about those people bitching about government oversight. They will bitch about government oversight in medical care or in schools or whatever. Oh, get the government out of my business. And yet they are big supporters of police and army and troops, which is government. They would like love to have like the government spend more than 66% of the American budget every year on defense. But that's not government oversight. Let's keep safe. So it's very hypocritical. It's terrible.
100%. All right. Well, we got to move on. What's up?
No, it's ridiculous. And Bassem's point about if your kids go to school, they've got to get, there's a whole series of vaccinations they have to protect the other children. And it's just absurd. And, the only thing that, the only mitigating factor about this is that in May anyways, according to the AP, of the 18,000 people that died, only 150 were vaccinated. And so it is, at the very least, even if we are, as adults, we're exposed to the Delta variant, is more than likely not going to have a big impact, particularly if you're under the age of 65 or 75. But it is, it's still a danger to the kids to some extent. And, my 8-year-old cannot get vaccinated at this point. So it's really, reprehensible.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't say what I want to say about long-term COVID effects. I'm like, I don't want long-term COVID effects. Also, erectile dysfunction, y'all. Erectile dysfunction. Okay. Let's get into the week. It's not over yet, but who cares? I'm gonna get into this. This is, oh no, wait, hang on. I know how to intro this. So a couple things that happened, a few things. President of Haiti assassinated. Wow, okay. The death toll from the Surfside building collapse reaches 60. Trump stages a rally 3 hours away. Anyway, Fox News is starting a weather channel, probably just about snowflakes. The Olympic Committee has proven it clearly hasn't found the right strain of weed, it gets too paranoid and just like, gotta find the right blend. And Jeff Bezos has stepped down as Amazon CEO to assume role as God? Probably God. For everything else, this is the week where. Yeah, so this was the week where we bought a vowel in the Wheel of Fortune puzzle that spells Trump is a fucking Nazi. According to a new book by Michael Bender, Trump, on a visit to Europe to mark the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War, Donald Trump insisted to his then chief of staff, John Kelly, well, Hitler did a lot of good things. Bender reports that Trump made the remark during an impromptu history lesson in which Kelly reminded the president which countries were on which side during the conflict and connected the dots from the First World War to the Second World War and all of Hitler's atrocities. But Bender says that Kelly then told the president that he was wrong, and Trump was undeterred, emphasizing German economic recovery under Hitler during the 1930s. Kelly pushed back again, Bender writes, and argued that the German people would have been better off poor than subjected to Nazi genocide. Bender adds that Kelly told Trump that even if his claim about the German economy under the Nazis in 1933 were true, quote, you cannot ever say anything supportive of Adolf Hitler. You just can't. Okay, John Kelly, fucking woke police here. Here we go. Yeah, the only good thing that Hitler ever did was kill Hitler. That is it. And we made a joke about this on Newsbroke, but the right is probably like, yeah, and he never gets credit for killing Hitler. That's like literally they said that about slavery, that like, you know, Republicans ended slavery. We don't get credit for doing that.
I mean, why is this surprising? I mean, why is this surprising? I mean, is it really unexpected for Trump to say that Hitler did a lot of good things? I come from the Arab world, and by the way, people love Hitler as much as they love Saddam Hussein or Khomeini or whatever. The whole thing about the strong man taking the country, for them, is better than anything. It doesn't matter how many victims they are. They all think about like economy, prosperity. If you, I'm a big fan of The Handmaid's Tale. Gilead, after all of the stuff that they did in The Handmaids and the sex slavery that they did to all of those women, they just flaunted the fact that, hey, we fixed the air, which is like, we're very weird, like having a group of like religious conservatives being aware of climate change and actually fixing the climate, but they don't care. They look at it like, oh, prosperity, economy, a big thing. Humans don't count for those people.
Right. The trains ran on time, as they say.
Yeah, the whole thing about like the people who promote like in Nazis or Stalin or Lenin or Mao Zedong, they just look at the big picture, look at the economy, look at the big buildings, look at the prosperity. It doesn't matter if that is all being done or made or erected over millions of victims. It doesn't matter. These are not important people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, I would also say that, it really depends on your perspective in terms of the economy. And it really became highly monopolistic. And that's how it was so easy to become so fascistic on some level in Germany. But also, I got to say, Donald Trump's just an idiot. I mean, clinically, he's an idiot. Yeah. And I think somebody said that into his ear at one point, and it was probably one of his fascist friends, and so he just bought it, and he's right. trying to make himself seem smart. It's the same thing with like where he turns to Blix and says, has anybody thought about putting bleach into your injecting yourself with bleach? I mean, that's my idea. I just want that down on the right. And I think that's what this dynamic is. And I'll also say John Kelly is a shit. He was a piece of garbage in terms of what he did with immigrants, and he just understood optics probably better than the idiot who was the president. Yeah. But he is also. I just don't want that to, so much of these stories we're getting about Trump are to basically make everyone around him see, whitewash their participation in this. For and sure. Some levels, Donald Trump's an idiot and a pig, but he won the presidency. John Kelly agreed to work for him. And so, F John Kelly too.
Yeah, 100%. But I also yes, but also why are we treating Trump and the Republican Party like it's not in early stages Third Reich, right? Like, how is this, like, the guy, his ex-wife Ivana said that he had like Mein Kampf on the bedside table. I'm a believe her on this one, right? And like I'm like I don't know why this. I know it's ridiculous to keep on talking about Trump, whatever, but like this, I feel like we still need to rub people's faces in this giant steaming pile of shit that has been our president, was our president, and is still out there, right? And yes, all the people who condoned him, but it's like, do you agree? Did Hitler do good things? Let's talk about it. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene out there comparing, the Holocaust to vaccines over and over and over again.
Guys, the infatuation of Hitler, by Hitler, is runs deep in American history. I mean, Henry Ford was the biggest proponent of Hitler, and he was almost awarded some kind of like a high rank medal by Hitler. And Henry Ford wanted the Nazis to come to America for him and him to be a president. Yeah. But the thing is, the infatuation of the strongman is something that is very common all around the world. People are still reminiscing about Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi. It's like, hey, at least he kept the peace, at least he kept security, law and order. He had the economy running. It doesn't matter how many people die or rot in jail. Again, for them, humans are not important. So even if Hitler even he was like an economic marvel at that time, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you create an incredible empire where you just like step on people and kill them. It doesn't matter. Right. I come from a part of the world that is full of strongmen and dictators who maybe we can argue that their countries prospered under them, but at the cost of thousands, even millions of lives that were killed and raped and imprisoned. Economic achievements should not be an excuse to oppress people.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why he.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I call Trump like head wound Hitler because he's like a bad fascist, like he's an idiot fascist. He doesn't know how to do it well, and that's our saving grace. And what we have to look forward to is a fascist in the United States doing it well, which is very scary. And it's either Tucker Carlson or Stephen Miller.
And we should say, even on those, even if we were to accept Trump's terms, that the economy is really sort of overshadows the genocide, et cetera, et cetera. The economy in Germany wasn't so great by the end of Hitler's term, as it were. Right. A couple of cities were flattened.
Indeed. Well, let's move on to the next story here. This was the week where we discovered just who exactly is helping to stop Biden's $2.3 trillion infrastructure plan, or 1.7 or 1. I don't know what it is. It's probably just $500 billion at this point. Thanks to the work of the investigative unit of Greenpeace Uncovered, we heard lobbyists in their own words explain how they're trying to tank the infrastructure bill. Listen to them talk about who they're targeting in the Senate and how they're doing it.
The wins are such that it would be difficult to categorize them all.
Did we join some of these shadow groups to work against some of the early efforts? Yes, that's true. But there's nothing illegal about that. Yeah.
This is Keith McCoy, one of Exxon Mobil's top Capitol Hill lobbyists. And this is Dan Easley. Until February this year, he was Exxon's leading White House lobbyist. Unearthed posed as recruitment consultants and told them we had a client who admired their work. Then we interviewed them on Zoom and asked them to tell us what they and the other lobbyists at Exxon have been up to.
We're playing defense because President Biden's talking about this big infrastructure package, and he's going to pay for it by increasing corporate taxes. You stick to highways and bridges, then a lot of the negative stuff starts to come out because
for you guys,
because there's a germaneness, right? That doesn't make any sense for a highway bill. Why would you put in a something on emissions reductions on climate change to oil refineries in a highway bill?
Who's the crucial guys for you?
Well, Senator Capito, who's the ranking member on Environment and Public Works, Joe Manchin, I talk to his office every week. He is the kingmaker on this because he's a Democrat from West Virginia, which is a very conservative state. Other ones that aren't talked about is Senator Coons, who's in Delaware, who has a very close relationship with Senator Biden. So we've been working with his office. Matter of fact, our CEO is talking to him
next week. Our CEO is talking to Chris Coons' office next week. I just have to say, before we talk about this, I wanted to say that after the revolution, obviously I don't advocate violence, but I want all these men to be the first to be thrown into that fiery butthole in the ocean that is burning in the Gulf of Mexico. Just right in. So this is obviously stuff that we sort of knew was going on behind the scenes, but hearing it through what feels like a pretty easy Zoom call meeting to set up, and like just a fairly open divulging of exactly what's going on. Like, I don't know, like how many calls were leading up to this call where they just openly talk about who they're lobbying. But what are your reactions, both of you, to just seeing it laid bare like that, and the names named of which senators are being targeted by ExxonMobil?
Bassem?
No, Sam, you go ahead, please.
Well, I mean, it's astonishing. There's a couple of things. I mean, the whole video is worth watching. It really is telling, not just in terms of the infrastructure, but the way our government works. What also astonishes me about it is I think Chris Hayes might have been the only person on television that played this.
Yeah.
I mean,
just
like, it's sort of a silly exercise, but just imagine that, like, if there was a Zoom call where, like, I don't know. I mean, look at the play that Acorn got back in the day.
Right.
And it became a national, I mean, the idea that this isn't being, sort of litigated over and over again in the national media and the national psyche is just absurd. And lastly, Chris Coons, that guy is loathsome, and he is close to the president. And if there was like any real, I mean, the idea that this is not being exploited by the right, even there's no politics in this country where that can just sort of sit out there. Chris Coons was Joe Biden's number one surrogate during the election. Wherever Joe Biden couldn't get to, Chris Coons was there. And it's also really distressing in terms of the infrastructure bill. And this should be exploited, and it's not being. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Again, why are we surprised? This is exactly like police brutality. It's always there, but like we just get to act all surprised. But when it's caught on video, this has been going on forever. I'm new to this country, and as much as I love America and its democracy and it is just like out there in plain sight, where senators and I think there was like some statistics saying that a senator or a congressperson has to at least raise an average of $22,500 a day in order to raise enough money for their re-elections. So those people, they go for the people to get elected or re-elected, but their loyalty is not for the people who cast the ballot. It's for the people who paid for the campaign. And it's been going on. The dark money in politics has always been an issue in America. That is why, that's why, like, under Trump, there was, remember when people talking about net neutrality, and these were like a bunch of unelected people deciding how free what about the access to the internet. These were, we did not elect those people, and yet they're deciding that. So it just like, for an outsider saying, is this whole democratic and elections and midterms, is this all kind of like an act? And at the end of the day, all of our lawmakers are just under the mercy and under the direct order of the lobbyists who pay for them. So you just like have to question all of the whole thing about democracy in this country.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you vote for Joe or Jim or Mike. At the end of the day, Joe, Jim, and Mike will just follow the order that's brought to him by the lobbyists, because they are the people who actually pay their salaries, not us.
Yeah, I mean, I 100%. And also, speaking of the high horse the United States loves to get on when talking about its own democracy, and it's like, well, other countries, there's all these bribes paid to like police officers. And one time I was in Mexico and you could pay $50. It's legalized here. It is like, if it is buttoned up enough, then it's great. Then bribery is lovely. But you have to be in a suit in a big chair in front of a big fireplace in order for it to count. Or then it doesn't count as bribery. But so there was a politician who responded to this, and I agree with Sam, completely undercovered by mainstream media. And I'm glad Chris Hayes did a segment on it, but we really should be doing more. But this is what Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez had to say about that leak.
Serious, because this is talking about whether our basic democratic rights can be purchased. And if our rights can be purchased, our democracy can be purchased, and if democracy is purchased, it is dismantled. On one hand, it's shocking, and on the other hand, it's not, and that is tragic. You know, I think that for me, and for a lot of members of Congress, many of us have worked so hard to instill trust in our work as elected officials, and many of us do not accept a dime in corporate PAC money. I've never taken a closed-door meeting or call with a corporate lobbyist in my entire time here. And the extent to which it was almost part of their sales pitch that they have access to influential members of Congress who then take these conversations that they have with corporate lobbyists and then try to package them as bipartisan or objective. It's shameful, you know, it's shameful. And I think that it brings a lot of shame to.
Okay, I apologize that I cut that video short.
I think the best work that have been done on that comically was Veep. How like it was just like hilarious how they just like made fun of all of the lobbyist thing, and how every bill kind of like get dwarfed to nothing in order to satisfy the lobbyists in the most. I think it's one of the most intelligent comedies ever written for television, and I think that is the real word now for us in politics. It's just like corporates run this country.
Yeah.
I should also say that Ro Khanna apparently has at the very least threatened subpoenas about that leaked audio. I don't know if he's going to I don't know if he's going to use that power or not. I think he sits on the Energy Committee. I'm not quite sure, or the government oversight, and he should. I hope it's not just like coming out for show, but and Bassem's right. I mean, it's obviously it's been out there in the open, but in the same way that we have a different understanding of the way that police do their policing because of video. There's just something about hearing it and watching it that it should theoretically resonate more with the American public, but so far, no.
So we should put body cams on senators, is what you're saying.
You know what? I'm down with that.
Yeah. But the problem is, if you put
there'd be way too much stuff we don't want to see.
There are going to be so many other scandals, like bathroom scandals
I was just going to say,
and hotel room scandals and all kinds of scandals.
Oh, the bathroom scandals.
Wide
feet slipping underneath the stall, man.
Wide stance. But when we start to talk about the Supreme Court, there was a case this week about transparency and about that dark money. And, the money's gotten darker just this week.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I did want to bring up, because I tweeted the video out. And, of course, Revolving Door Project, which Max Moran's been on this show, tweeted back at me and was like, oh, Exxon may also be able to count on having friends in the Biden administration because 2 former Exxon consultants are slated to be confirmed by the Senate to high-ranking positions at the Treasury Department! ! Fun. So that's Elizabeth Rosenberg and Neil McBride. Yeah. Former consultant for Exxon Mobil. Sorry, I'm trying to read who both of them are. She's repeatedly advocated for increasing U.S. natural gas and oil exports abroad, which would benefit companies like Exxon. I mean, so it's hard because we're going to get into the Supreme Court. Elections matter. There is a difference between a conservative court and a liberal court, 100%. But it's hard to see that when you've got stories like this. And when we know all this hemming and hawing over the infrastructure package, which, to be honest, the media completely goes along with, because to Bassem's point, as long as you say you got something done and you had minimal negotiation, even if what you got done was money you were supposed to spend 10 years ago, but then then you get a prize. I don't know, you get a cookie from Jake Tapper bakes you a whole tray of cookies. I believe that's what happens.
Baker.
He's great. All right, let's finally move on. That was depressing enough, man. We were going to talk about the Teletubbies, but since I've got, men, in their prime of life, they were like, we don't know anything about Teletubbies. And it'd be weird if you did. I'm just going to be real. It'd be weird if you knew too much about Teletubbies. They got vaccinated. We'll talk about it on Sunday, but let's get into even more depressing news.
You see, the Teletubbies actually have much more common sense than those like assholes who follow the lizard conspiracy theories. I would love to share an airplane with Teletubbies. I mean, they have much more common sense. Yes.
Oh my God. If you were next to a Teletubby on a plane, that'd be amazing. You just like rest on them, I'm sure they don't mind.
They take the entire armrest though.
They do.
I don't
but you
think
hold their hand during
elbows are all
turbulence.
fleshy, I think. So
They've got good snacks.
From what I know of Teletubbies. So.
They need the seatbelt extender too. It's definitely not Teletubby friendly. All right. Last story of this hell week. This was the week where it started to become very clear that when you confirm men who like beer and women who look like Carrie's mom to the Supreme Court, you get a corporate-run Handmaid's Tale House of Horrors. So the Supreme Court completed its session. What is it called, Sam? It's done.
I mean, it's not technically, the term's not technically over, but they have no more rulings. So.
Okay. They're taking a summer break. So no more rulings for the year, but hey, they got a lot done. And it was hard doing some research for this story. And, there's a lot of sort of like, well, there was a lot of consensus on the Supreme Court. And yeah, well, they weren't totally awful. And there's a lot of analysis coming out. It's like, well, they're not as conservative as we thought they were going to be. Really? So a few things that they just did, completed the gutting of the voting rights bill, ruling it unconstitutional for unions to organize farm workers on farms, undoing legacies of Cesar Chavez and others, ruling in favor of Americans for Prosperity, a dark money group, to make Citizens United even worse, which is basically that there doesn't have to be any disclosure, I believe, about sums or who was actually doing the donating. And it looks like they're going to be setting up for, in the fall, a takedown of Roe v. Wade. They might have cooled it on the ACA. I think the ACA, it's not a great bill anyway, but I think they've mostly left it alone. But yeah, this is where we're at. And I wanted, part of my research actually was just listening to Sam, your interview with Mark Joseph Stern of Slate, which was devastatingly depressing about this right-wing extremist agenda. And I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on where we're headed, because you're someone who I think during the 2016 election, if I'm not mistaken, with our good friend Jimmy Dore, got into some back and forth about, look, Clinton v. Trump might not feel like a lot of difference on paper, but when it comes to the Supreme Court, it absolutely matters. And I think progressives and leftists very often, too often, forget at how important the Supreme Court actually is.
It's unbelievable to me how little the left, and I mean that from the center to the left, really appreciate what the 6-3 Supreme Court is going to mean. You ticked off a bunch of the cases, Brnovich versus DNC, this case out of Arizona about Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. It's atrocious, the ruling that Alito wrote for that, basically saying, even though Congress essentially amended the Voting Rights Act in 1982, any laws that existed before 1982 or at 1982 can remain, which is essentially like you've asked the plumber to come fix the leak. And he says, okay, well, the leak is the baseline now. So don't call me unless the leak is, worse than that. Cedar Point, these are all cases. Cedar Point is the one about the unionization. It's not just about unions. This is about the idea that that the government can require trespass on your property. There's a right to unionize in this country. The government said these people live on these farms. They work on these farms. We're going to allow unions to come in for a certain number of hours out of a year, essentially, to unionize. this is the first step in attacking a huge amount of regulation down the road. Like, how do you say to a restaurant, look, we need to inspect whether you're maintaining any type of hygiene? Well, the Supreme Court has said that if the government comes in and inspects, it's a taking at that point. I mean, so
Right.
I didn't mean to cite my Hugo. It was, I don't know if that was all you're laughing about, the food inspector, but there's an Equifax rule. I mean, there's a whole set of rulings that are going to impact our daily lives that is obscured from us. And the left just doesn't understand the material implications: voting, money, class action, access to lawsuits, just in the past, 3 weeks.
And they're handpicking cases that were even rejected by lower courts, sent back down. They're picking them up and dusting them off and this protects corporate rights. We're ruling on this guy.
People should understand, just on the Voting Rights Act, the Section 2, John Roberts wanted Reagan to reject that 1982 amendment, to veto it when he was a lawyer at the Department of Justice. 40 years later, he is now one of 6 people in the country. You had the entire Senate vote for that. Reagan signed off on it. John Roberts has the ability to just flick a switch. It's gone. Yeah. And they do this incrementally. The cases you're seeing today are going to lead to other cases a year or 2 from now or 3 years from now. And they're just slowly hacking away at the ability of government to do anything in this country. And we're going to feel the implications for this for decades. This court has already been in power longer than the Warren Court and the 5-4, longer than the Warren Court, and they're just getting started. The implications of this are going to be massive.
I'm not an expert like Sam and you in this, but I blame Obama. I think, no, seriously, I blame the left of how they kind of softball their political game. The Republicans have absolutely no shame. They have absolutely no shame to block Obama's Supreme Court nominee for a whole year. They have absolutely no shame to do what they want. And just the left just wants to play with the rules. I mean, stop trying to meet people in the middle. Those people don't want to meet you in the middle. They want to eliminate you and they want to gut your rights. And I think this is how you have Republicans that would prefer Putin to Obama or Biden or Hillary. Those people have no shame. And I think it's just it's about time that the left stop playing nice and by the rules and just be vicious. Because you are basically fighting for your freedom, and also, and I think a conservative court is just it's only, I think, I don't know why, I think just their mission is just to conserve bullshit, and we just should play by these rules. Okay, you are the enemy, and I'm going to fight you until the last breath for every single liberty and right that I have actually developed in this country, and I'm gonna let you take it away.
Yeah. I do want to just say that, and this sort of goes to the last story we did as well, that I feel like the left doesn't have any power. And that's something, as someone who's on the left, it bothers me. And I know you didn't mean this, Bassem, but we're not in power. People assign these, the power to AOC, she can single-handedly bring Medicare for all, and she's going to, no. Nobody listens to AOC inside of Congress. She gets a lot of play in the media because she does well. We like her. I like her. But when it comes to who's actually running shit and who's pulling strings, who's listening to her, the left, despite the squad, we've got more chances to have power, but we don't have power right now. And I just want to, I think it's important to remember that as we sort of feel why aren't we doing more?
The left doesn't have any power, but the left does have power to understand the implications of the court system.
Yes.
And they have, in the left, and I mean from the center to all the way through the left. I understand that from an ideological perspective, the far left and genuine lefties in terms of socialists and whatnot see less import to the court because there's a more of a revolutionary program. But the fact of the matter is that if you have a plan B, you better pay attention to the court because Mitch McConnell probably gets a lot less credit than he should for Donald Trump winning, because that court seat that he maneuvered to be open was a huge driver. Was a huge driver, though. That Merrick Garland seat was a huge driver to turning out the fundamentalist base for Donald Trump. And Bassem is exactly right. The Obama administration did not take the court seriously whatsoever. And it's one thing to say, I can't control Mitch McConnell, but you can say, okay, here's Merrick Garland. You won't give him a hearing? Here's a half a dozen others. I'm going to hit every constituency out there so that Mitch McConnell, you are shitting and spitting on the face of a whole series of constituents that we need to come out and vote in the fall. You could have politicized that a lot more. Barack Obama failed miserably at it. He failed miserably at taking the judiciary seriously, which is astonishing for a constitutional law expert. Joe Biden, to his credit, has put at this juncture, it's not that many, more lifetime appointments than any other president. Not that many, maybe a dozen at this point, but at least he's taking it seriously. And hopefully they'll fill as many of these lifetime appointments, not all in the Supreme Court, obviously, very quickly. But that's what we can do. We can become more sensitive to the relevance of this issue and put political pressure on our politicians to take it seriously too, because they know that Democratic voters just don't take it as seriously. Short of Roe v. Wade, that's it. It's obscured. And part of it is because there's a corporate agenda even by the Democrats who they put on the court. So
absolutely. I think that is really it. And that is why what's bothered me. I mean, we talked about dark money just a little bit ago. Now we're talking about the Supreme Court. The right has had an agenda. We don't know what the Democrats' agenda has or hasn't been. They had, it's like you hear David Axelrod, who's Obama's, chief of staff advisor, where he was like, we really got blindsided by 2010, when we lost like Congress, and we just got blindsided by all the Koch brother money. And you're like, how? Right. How did you get blindsided by this? How did you not? And once you knew what was going on, once you could see that Citizens United was just funneling endless amounts of money into your opponent, how did you not create a defense to that? And the same thing with the Supreme Court. You think about Barrett and Kavanaugh have been waiting in the wings for so long, and it's like, okay, well, who do we got waiting in the wings? What was our think tank strategy? Were those big donors? And when I say our, I mean protecting the right to choose whether you want to be a mother or not. All right. So just going to show this last thing. With Barrett on board, obviously, you've got emergency appeals from churches fighting pandemic restrictions, strengthening religious laws, now landmark Roe v. Wade abortion rights ruling, and a call for constitutional right to carry a gun in public signal that the court's conservatives are ready to begin a legal transformation.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We got to get to some happy stuff. Before Bassem, I know you got a dash, so we're going to do one final segment. This is what I want to know, which is there's lots of discussion on the right about cancel culture. There's lots of discussion about comics. You can't say anything in comedy anymore. You can't say it, right? So my question is the right funny? Can the right be funny? This is the sitch. Okay, this is specifically, obviously, for Bassem, but Sam as well. I think there's a lot of, the right loves to talk about cancel culture. You can't say anything, blah, blah, tone policing, woke police, blah, blah, blah. Trump, meanwhile, we just found out, was looking into how he could sick the DOJ or the FCC on SNL. Just pathetic shit. Trying to clamp down on anyone making fun of him. I mean, we all agree that Alec Baldwin should be arrested for a terrible impression of Trump. That is, I think, bipartisan. But I wanted to ask you, Bassem, about what it is like doing comedy under a dictatorship and when authoritarianism comes to power. Trump and LCC were friends. He was probably studying your case. He was like, if we can just get SNL off the air.
Well, here's the thing. The whole thing about satire and irony, that it's subversive. And conservatives, by default, cannot be subversive. Because it's about making fun of taboos, about establishments, about the thing that we hold dear and holy. And the conservatives, they hold to these. So they cannot. So what happens is that their satire is misogynist, is racist, is anti-minority, and it's just like they're terrible. I mean, if you watch the so-called comedy show on Fox News, which is like it's so cringy. But for example, one of the like the very few comedic actors that came from with a right-wing mentality is Kelsey Grammer, Frasier, right? He's great. I mean, he's one of I love him. I loved Frasier, one of my favorite shows. But then they tried their hand on a Naked Gun kind of satire when they did a movie called An American Carol. And I'm sure that even if you don't remember that movie, it's fine because it was it was 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was a terrible, terrible movie. 4.1 out of 10 from IMDb, and they were basically doing like a kind of a Naked Gun parody on Roger Moore, what's his name, Michael Moore kind of movies, and it was the most terrible satirical movie you can ever see. It was terrible, and it's full of like all of these terrible stereotypes about Arabs and Muslims and women and liberals. It's just like rude. Their comedy is
Kelsey
rude.
Grammer was in this movie? I feel like we have to get high and watch it.
No. Yeah. Kelsey Grammer was on it. He was the guy who's starring American Carol. It was just like one of the most terrible right-wing kind of satire. You have to watch it as a case study, and it just like they don't get the satire in the same way that the left wing, because for them it's just like insulting. And and when they do satire, they do it in a way. I mean, you have like the article that you shared with us, which is a comparison between The Onion and the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee, I didn't know that there was like it was a conservative right-wing satirical site until I actually researched it, because I found my right-wing friend sharing their articles as real news.
Yes.
And it's kind of like the way that they feed into the narrative of their conspiracy theories. The Onion is just like clear-cut, very, very intelligent satire, and it shows.
Yeah.
But the way that they do it is just like it's a way to feed into the misinformation of the conspiracy theories. And so the short answer is the right wing suck at satire. I had it because I had Islamists and right-wing pro-military characters trying to do satire against me, and they were like terrible. They were like terrible. It was like so unfunny, and it's only funny for their own followers. And the reason why their followers like that kind of satire is for them it's a way to insult the other. It's more of insulting comedy. It's not intelligent. It's just like raw and just like in your face, on the nose. Terrible.
Well, and it's the victim complex right now that the right has, which is they see like, Black Lives Matter as the establishment, as if it were the establishment. So their satire is like, well, since we can't say, I don't know, the N-word, or we can't make fun of women, or we have to ask for consent, that suddenly becomes our like oppression, and we're fighting against that. Therefore, we can do satire.
So first of all, the whole thing about cancel culture is bullshit. Yes. Because no one will come at you and put you in jail because like some sort of a politically incorrect joke you did. You just say whatever you want and just have to bear the consequences. There are like, and which is like social pressure, or whatever. But nobody is coming to you and putting you to jail because you said like a bad taste joke. This is terrible. The whole cancel culture, it's just like
the
crazy.
worst that happens is that nobody laughs, and we've all seen comics like say a racist or messed up joke, and no one laughs, and they're like, "You're just woke," and you're like, "Okay, buddy."
And when you are canceled by a TV show or whatever, you are canceled by private corporations. You're canceled by private businesses that they see that it's in their own interest not to have you anymore because of what you said. But the government is not canceling you. The police is not canceling you. The law is not canceling you. This is just like social interaction. If you don't like it, you can go to Fox News and say whatever, like politically incorrect, and they will welcome you, and they will even pay you a lot of money for your poorly constructed jokes. But other than that, there's the whole cancel culture thing is just stupid.
Greg Gutfeld does a here on that. But yeah, I think Bassem's right. The fact is that the right really doesn't do satire. Satire is supposed to expose structural aspects of our society, and like Bassem says, they're just insult comedians. But they also, part of the reason why it's just simply not funny is they have to spend so much time creating the straw man and the structure to attack, and it's really read thin. There was a show that they did to compete with Saturday Night Live like 15 years ago. I don't know if you can see some clips of it on online. Fox did, and it was like opened up with Rush Limbaugh, and he came out and delivered what was, I guess, sort of like a cold opening, and he brought in his vice president. He's brought in his vice president, who is Ann Coulter, and it was just a series of it is so bad because they're having to sell the existence of a structure that nobody else recognizes. That then they're sort of critiquing it. It really is the closest I can, back in my comedy days, I did a couple of industrials with a comedy troupe. And you found that like the stuff that really played was when they said like, here, do these jokes about the R&D department and make sure that you talk about how Angie never lets her paper clips lent out. And you say that in front of the crowd and they go wild. Anything else, they don't respond
corporate gigs.
Right, yeah. And it's all just sort of like their entire sort of comedic genre is that. And you can see it. I mean, I don't know if Gutfeld's show is still on, but
it's still on.
It's one of the highest rated shows on Fox News, because I think it caters for the 65 and above.
Holy shit! Wow,
I sadly don't have a clip. But
can I tell you something? For the first week where Gutfeld premiered, Fox News was all over the place celebrating Gutfeld is having one of the highest rated shows on television, like, period. And because like people who watch Fox News are just still the people who watch television, which is like 65 and above. So yeah, makes sense.
Yep, that's amazing.
I couldn't find they're all terrible clips, but I didn't actually pull one. I didn't have time, but we've all seen how terrible Gutfeld is. And I'm just like, I know a lot of comedians who would probably take that job writing for you. Like, I know people write for Bill Maher. It's not Gutfeld, but like, there's some bad jokes in there. It's cringy. He's cringy. Just hire writers, hire better writers. They're out there. They'll work. We're broke as hell.
It doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you hire better writers. It's a mindset. It's the mindset. If you get the best writer in the world, it's like, okay, it's conservatism and satire. It doesn't work.
Let's just look at some Babylon Bee headlines, because I feel like you're not giving them credit. So here's one: George Washington to be replaced on Mount Rushmore by George Floyd.
Okay, here it is. So this is like they're insulting a dead man, like a guy that was killed on camera. Where is the satire in this? All right.
Because they're both named George.
Yeah.
Biden Psaki to go door to door on bikes, asking if you have a moment to talk about getting vaccinated. There's making fun of the fact that they're
joke in that. Like there's no attempt at a joke. Where does the punchline? There's no attempt at a joke in either one of those.
The Photoshop job, though, Sam. Look,
the Photoshop job is sort of funny.
It works. I mean, they have the money to buy Adobe, but other than that, it's just
okay. What about this? House votes to replace all Confederate statues with statues of Chairman Mao. That just sounds like cool.
But I understand why is this funny for the right. I understand, because like we would rather to have a racist leader in the Civil War who enslaved black people other than we have a communist. Yes, I see that. I see the joke.
I'm glad you could see it. This one I literally don't understand. AOC donates casket she was buried in after being killed on January 6th to Smithsonian.
that joke is that she has been really overly dramatic and has claimed, about what happened on January 6th.
Yeah, because
Right.
God forbid if you keep like if you don't talk about like how people were like inches away from coming in and threatening to kill you. Yeah.
But
like,
I
but
don't
with the
even. I'm not
cast,
even offended by their dumb talking point. It's just that it's so not funny. It is just like, and it's
and
not
those aren't
funny.
even punching down.
Like, I'm not,
They have other ones that are like all like, oh, why women make great soldiers, and it's like, they can only do 5 push-ups and make you look strong.
I'm not offended by the point they're trying to make with that, and that's what makes it unfunny. It's unfunny, distinct
Period.
from period. It's just like it is honestly like there's nothing less funny than unfunniness that thinks it's funny. It's just what a horror show. Honestly, that is. It's impressive that goes out the door and they're like, good one, nailed it. We nailed it with this.
I mean, I feel like they also might be getting paid for word, because there are way too many words in this headline, in which case, like, I'm like, I respect the hustle.
Guys, these are the same people that would, if they see like a blackface sketch, they would think it's funny. This is the kind of audience that they cater to.
Yes, and that to me is why I think I was also not only a trip abroad, every conservative, every American needs, but everyone needs a lesson in irony. Like, what is irony? What is sarcasm? Like, let's like listen for tones, like, wow, you look great, like, okay, was that sarcastic or not? You can go out into the world. Like, this should be a lesson in senior year in high school when you do like, sex ed, back-to-back sex ed and government and civics, and you're like, what? And then irony class. That's what I think. And then I think we would create better citizens if we just did that, because literally people thought Colbert Report was like a real show. Yeah. And then you've got liberals who are like, oh my God, it's Stephen Colbert's fault that Trump got elected. You're like, no, it's not hearing tones.
Yeah, it's ironic that the right has any kind of satire. That's the irony.
I will say Donald Trump at times can be funny. I mean, legitimately funny. But I think it's just because he's I think, I can't think of a time off the top of my head, but he is pretty good at insulting people. And
he's an insult comic.
Yeah, honestly,
he's an insult comic. He's a hack comic. From
very early on, he just struck me as a road comic. I mean, and basically uses the same technique. And look, you go out and you do during the campaign, you do 200 nights a year, 300 nights a year, you're going to get pretty good.
Yes.
If you got any like inkling of like showmanship, you're going to figure out the lines that work. You can keep repeating them. You already have an audience that is completely, yours as you walk in the room. And so
he should have just been a stand-up. Hitler should have been an artist as George W. Bush. Maybe he could have just been a stand-up. Bassem, we would have toured with him. It would have been funny-ish. It could have been great.
You guys come in my bus. Actually, just you, Francesca.
The worst part of that Access Hollywood video is I like that actress, because I used to be obsessed with Days of Our Lives when I was like 14. It's like, don't disrespect her. Don't remember her name, but she was good as Nicole Evil. All right. We're going to move on to our final segment, but I want to read a few comments real quick. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for becoming a patron, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. On Trump, Steve Damon on YouTube says fascism is good for business and in the short term. I think you meant short term, which is why Trump loved it. Short-term thinking is a very German thing. All right, now we're judging the Germans, but yes, it's true. Fascism is absolutely good for business. I mean, I think there were a couple of Wall Street executives who said that about Warren. Like, would they rather have Trump or Elizabeth Warren? And they were like, Trump. That was before the election. Tesla Ranger, I think Trump is a Nazi, but also too stupid to realize he's a Nazi. Could be. Invincible Queer on Exxon Mobil, 4 horsemen gonna apocalypse. Very true. Dragon Slayer, Slayer Dragon, Corporatocracy says, you can vote for whomever you wish out of those 2 options I've so generously provided. And Liu Kang on YouTube, SCOTUS is more important than POTUS, always has been. And Little Mac, what's up? Thank you so much for your super chat. Bottom line, we live in an oligarchy with good people fighting hard to return us to democracy. Please keep fighting the good fight for us, Franny and Sam. Love you both. Love you. Thank you. And Todd, thank you so much. There should be comedy police, the only police I will endorse. Comedy police is the audience, man. If they laugh, if they don't laugh, and sometimes they're terrible, just like police. Not all audiences are good. All right, guys, let's move to our final segment, our fun segment. Who we gonna sext? Who we gonna elect? Who we gonna overthrow? Let's get into it. And for this last segment, I've selected just some of the 3 most scrumptious centrist Dems. Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, and Dianne, where am I? Feinstein of California, who by her own staff standards said she's losing her marbles. So I'm not being ageist. Who do you send a sext to? Who do you elect to office? You can elect them to any office. And who are we overthrowing? No more. Bye-bye. Trash chute of memory. Who wants to go first?
Can I do a little bit of modification?
No.
Okay.
Do you think Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR allows you to modify? No, it's NPR. I'm just dunking on Wait, Don't Tell Me. That's a modify.
I would do stab, shoot, decapitate, and all of them will be Mitch McConnell.
No.
And all of them is Mitch McConnell.
All Mitch McConnell. Okay. Well, let me see if.
So the thing is, like, I would. There's kill, right? There's a kill.
No, there's overthrow.
Oh, overthrow. That's Joe, the guy, the man, the
Joe Manchin.
That's the guy from West Virginia, the Democrat from West Virginia, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That overthrow. I shouldn't be talking about sexting because they are women, and this is like a whole Me Too movement. But I would choose Feinstein because she wouldn't remember. Now she's losing her marbles, and I don't know. The third one, she looks like a high school principal, so I would elect her to that.
Yeah. Okay. Elect her to be a high school principal. I don't know if is that elected. I feel like that's.
I don't know.
That's just a job, but I like that. Okay.
I fail on this test. Yeah.
Local office. No, I like it. Sam, what about you?
I should tell you that I didn't realize that I only had those 3 to choose from because I've never played this game because I have no social. I never had friends growing up. But
I don't play games.
But now, off the top of my head, I would say, okay, what I would do is I would sext Joe Manchin because he needs to be wooed. And I feel like I could woo him into perhaps supporting the reconciliation and maybe even getting rid of the filibuster.
Okay, that's how good your sext is. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would try.
Maybe he will filibuster your sext. I mean, like you're gonna send him a sext, and then he will send you back like a whole useless text.
One of those long texts that you have to like expand.
I feel like it's worth a try, and I feel like it's worth a try. And Kyrsten Sinema, I would have her elected to governor of Arizona, so we could get a different Democrat in her position in the Senate. And Feinstein I'd overthrow because it's a blue state and we can just get rid of her. I mean, originally I was going to say I would sext Feinstein, but Bob said it, so I had to remember. I had to make a laugh.
She'd be eggplant. I'm hungry. I love an eggplant parm.
But I would just overthrow Feinstein and get it's a blue state. So
we're sexting. Okay, your sex game is good. You're gonna sex. I would totally sex Manchin for sure. He's the one that you're like.
He probably would respond better to yours than mine, but I'm not sure about that.
You never know. You could show him the calves.
I got some game. I got some game with my calves. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean you did years ago, but yeah. Sexting Manchin for sure. Sexting Mansion, because he's very, he feels like he's more, obviously he's impressionable, very impressionable. You overthrowing cinema. I don't trust Kristen Cinema anywhere doing anything other than like picking tops out at, Talbot's. That's it. You just help me with a top at Talbot's, which I don't own a boat, so I don't shop there. But if I did, I would trust Kirsten Cinema to help me pick out a top. That's the only place I trust her. Nowhere near politics. This woman used to be the Green Party. Now she's a Republican, essentially. Do not know, do not care. She's more into like wearing statement pieces rather than legislating. Overthrow her. And Feinstein, Diane, die-fi. Die-fi, before you die-fi, I'm going to elect you. Whatever office you want, girl. I don't you want to be president? That's fine. We will weekend at Bernie's you along with Justice Breyer. We'll get all our good people in there. You're going to crush it. Yes, you did sign a $5 trillion infrastructure bill. Yeah, we love it. You love it. Everyone loves it. You're great. We're electing Feinstein, you guys. And then we're obviously electing a real senator, a real Democratic senator in California. This state is crap. All right, guys. That has been the show. Holy shit. Bassem Youssef, thank you so much for being on. Where can people find you and your work?
I prefer Instagram nowadays. I'm kind of avoiding Twitter at all costs. But yeah, at Bassem at Instagram. I put videos of butterflies.
Oh my God, is this a cry for help? Is this like Britney Spears' gram where you're like, save me?
No, I was there. I think I was high, but like there was like a butterfly just like on my balcony. I was just like for an hour. I was just like taking all of these stories and videos, and people like were texting me, "Are you okay?" It's like, no, I'm just high.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bassem. If you guys can catch him live, do it. Be well, take very good care. And Sam Seder, what do you do during the week? Where can people find you?
People can find me at the Majority Report every day at noon, except for Thursdays. Emma Vigeland takes over, and then later on YouTube or on Twitch or Facebook or Twitter or
Facebook. Okay.
I think I to be totally honest, I'm not 100% sure. It's my peeps and or I guess on the Peacock app too. You can find on Choice. The Majority Report plays at 10 p.m. and Emma and I do a second show that is just interviews with reporters. That is, I'm pretty sure untitled, but we've only been doing it for 4 months. So, it's you can find that at 5 p.m. and then they replay it at other times.
Oh, that's awesome! I didn't even know it was an evening show. And everybody, you didn't either.
Nobody told me.
Also, just everyone listen to Sam's interview with Mark Joseph Stern for more on the Supreme Court. It was good. It was important. And thank you, Sam, so much for being here. We have to check in on that libertarian to make sure that he has not also had heart palpitations since you've debated him. So please don't look directly into the camera. I
was looking down.
Good. Take very good
real
care.
Pleasure. Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Oh, my God, on a Thursday. What a fucking delight. And make sure to stay tuned for Sunday. We've got a show with Bridget Todd of Ultraviolet and the very, very funny comedian James Fritz. And we will be talking about Teletubbies. Hell yeah. And until then, remember, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Later.